Hello, hi there. This will actually be a second attempt at making this video. Things didn't go too well the first time around, so it made it kind of complicated in understanding what was wrong because I guess the audio got kind of biffed. So here's hoping that things turn out a bit better. But today I wanted to bring to you a ramble slash kind of, I guess, so far review of Absolute Wonder Woman. Yeah, I think that the series is probably one of the best current runs of a Wonder Woman comic run there is. And so I will be first, let's do like a brief synopsis. So you basically have Wonder Woman, and instead of the typical Wonder Woman, if you are familiar, Wonder Woman is typically an Amazonian that is, I guess, favored by some of the like gods that Amazonians worship, and she's one of the most recent ones that get born on the island of Amazonians. And yeah, you know, after some time and some stuff happens, she usually ventures out and becomes the hero known as Wonder Woman. But here, in this instance, in what is known as the Absolute Universe, which is basically a resetting, you know, comic runs do like resets of, you know, their major like storylines and whatnot to kind of start fresh after things get a bit hectic and over long running and very long running. But this is the Absolute Universe, which is basically what if the universe was essentially created from the energy of Darkseid. So it's kind of sinister in nature, but in these, like, you know, this dark Absolute Universe, is there ways to see our heroes that we know and love still make their way as heroes and, you know, appear in still true form in a sense. But here in the Absolute Universe, instead of being raised on an island of similar Amazonians, she is actually one of the last Amazonians after basically, I guess, these warring gods. One of the gods, I think, not totally, is it Zeus? It might have been Zeus or some other like big name god. This entire series is very heavily inspired by like a lot of Greek mythology, a lot more than usual in what you see in Wonder Woman stories. So gods fighting. One decides that I don't want the Amazonians around, tries to wipe them all out, doesn't succeed in, you know, killing Diana as a child. She gets stashed away or stowed away in hell, essentially, right? Like she's taken to a hellish dimension to be raised by the witch Circe, which is basically, you know, she's done some stuff, got punished, got trapped into hell, and they essentially use her as effectively like a surrogate mother to hide her away, because I guess the gods are playing some sort of game, and one side wants to essentially use Diana as like some key component in whatever is going on. We don't truly know yet, because so far there's only like 12-ish issues out. So as more stuff comes out, I will probably understand more about what's going on with the gods and why this or that is happening. But effectively, she gets raised under the surrogate mother Circe, the witch, on this island in hell. And yeah, she essentially assures, or they overall assure, that Diana still is raised with like love and kindness and caring, and she essentially gets the same origin story, just not surrounded by other Amazonians, to the point where they even, like, I think they censor the word Amazonian. Like, they literally make it where she doesn't even know that what she is until later on in her life. But yeah, she eventually grows up and becomes a very like strapping warrior, if you will. Like, she's very gung-ho and very much so the typical Wonder Woman that we know of her character, but just her environment is different. But, you know, I guess it's kind of nurture versus nature she still ends up being like, Wonder Woman. But yeah, some time passes, and as she's living here on this island with her surrogate mother Cersei, Steve, this Air Force pilot, crashes. He crash lands. I don't know how this happens because they're in a completely different realm. I guess it's supposed to be a parallel still, even though this is effectively the same instances that happen in a lot of Wonder Woman comic runs and stories. Is that Steve, this Air Force pilot, usually either like a World War II Air Force pilot or just Air Force pilot in general. In the sense, he's just an Air Force pilot in general this time around. He's not from like, you either have like a Wonder Woman that's like really old and all the way from back in the era of like World War II, 1940s, or you have like a modern day Wonder Woman, and she just happens to come across this guy that crash lands on the Amazonian island. But here, he crash lands on this island in hell, and he's effectively trapped there. Now, he didn't die, from my understanding of what they told him. He didn't pass away, but he still somehow ended up here. But that effectively traps him here alongside Diana and Cersei, and that allows Diana to kind of see an opportunity to, I guess, prove herself in a sense, like kind of prove whether or not she's worthy to, do one of the first things as like, this heroic figure of, I gotta send him home kind of thing. Like, he has to go back to where he came from, back to his family, and she takes it upon herself to find this like ritual that effectively will allow him to do so, but it comes at a great cost, as warned by via Cersei, and her mother is basically being like don't do that. It's like the cost might just be too great for you. But in a sense, to, I guess, say that like I'm ready, like this, like I've completed my journey, and I've started to like come into my own and realize like my purpose in life. And this is after like the revelation of her becoming Amazonian, because it's kind of like in her, regardless of whether or not like God step in to make the knowledge unknown, even not allowing Cersei to like say the word. She still like, she knows it in like her heart of hearts, because that's just what she is, and she longs to be Wonder Woman in a sense. So after that, she effectively has to come to the decision like, I want to do this great thing, and one of the first great things and great notions as being this basically chosen champion of fate or what have you. She has to give up one of her arms to actually make the ritual work, which is crazy, I know, but it's what it calls for. It empowers powerful enough magic to effectively like teleport him back to the beaches of the city where he came from. And so after this, Cersei discovers her, and that she had lopped off one of her arms. They send him home, and yeah, that is just like basically the point of where she kind of realizes that like, it's time for me to get off of this island and further my adventure out into the world, and seek my purpose and other potential Amazonians, because she is one of the last Amazons, but she is not the last one, right? So there's potential of there being more out there in the world, and all of this is very much so like a hero's journey, the Odyssey story, Greek mythology. Like, it's very entwined deeply into the series, and it's great. It's a great read. It makes this series unique in the sense that it is in many ways fundamentally different than what you typically get with Wonder Woman, but it is still very familiar and very like on like equal, and still like the same, right? Like, it's different but the same, and that's what I think I've been enjoying so much about it, is that like it kind of calls to this notion that like, even though Diana is in a completely different realm and environment, as long as there is the seed sown regardless of any of this, like, she still is Wonder Woman. She still end up being Wonder Woman, although a very, very different take on the normal titular character. So after all that happens, some years pass, and she eventually makes her way to Earth, our realm. And like one of the first things in instance, like this is issue 1, 2, and 3, and a little bit of 4. One of the first things we see her fighting are like these big reddish demon flying creatures that all seem to stem from basically, they're essentially like I guess lesser prey creatures that are running for something greater. And that greater thing is this massive, like, Lovecraftian horror that is stomping towards the city. That she reunites with Steve, which was the pilot that she helped send home. She reunites with him, and like this massive, what seems at first to be like an invasion of these creatures, but all it ends up being is mainly just them running, or being like a kind of like a prerequisite to this massive Lovecraftian creature that is coming along to essentially destroy this entire city and kill everyone in it. So she has to like step up to the plate and effectively like stop it. And like it's just like a crazy showing of scale and wonder in the series, and just the epicness of this battle. She's got this massive sword that seemingly changes sizes with like the amount of magic that she's able to like wield into it. She's flying around on this like undead Pegasus, and she has these lassos, one of which is like she has multiple lassos, but none of them are the lasso of truth that we're used to. And I'm not entirely certain on the other two. She has a red one, she has a blue one, and she has green. The first one that we see is this red one, and this lasso, instead of like, it's not gonna like make you tell the truth or just be like a strong kind of like, you know, just a lasso, like a rope to grab on things. Apparently what it does is that it takes the sins of the individual and turns that like back onto them. So it's very much so like the penance stare from Ghost Rider, but just in like a rope lasso form, which I think is very interesting and neat. That something so simple to like, even down to like her lasso of truth, is fundamentally different in the series. That like, I know that Wonder Woman uses a lasso and is typically the lasso of truth, and now you're still using a lasso, but it's, you know, basically a lasso of nothing but like pain and suffering, which is such an interesting flip. But it still works out, and like, you know, just like combat wise for Wonder Woman, and like how she approaches situations, and like, you know, how she uses her arsenal, right? Instead of like her typical rinky-dink little like sword, shield, and cufflets lasso, here she's still got a sword, which is like this massive, almost berserk inspired, very berserk energy sword that changes even to like bigger, more obscene and absurd sizes. She has these, you know, lasso, but instead of just one lasso, it's multiple lassos, and one of which is like, you know, if it grabs onto you, it hurts a lot if you're, you know, a bad person, like a really messed up guy. And then outside of that, I'm not sure if she has cufflinks this time around. I guess technically, since she lost one of her arms, she uses like a backup prosthetic and or the magical arm that she has. So she basically has like a magical prosthetic that she loses during this battle, and she has to rely on a real like prosthetic until she's able to perform a ritual to reinstate that arm, which is like super badass. But yeah, I've been really enjoying the series, and I've been enjoying the first few issues that I've managed to read. I've actually caught up to all of them. There's, I think, 12, like 12-ish issues, like, yeah, 12. Should be 12 issues that are currently out. And with publication of comics, it typically takes like months in between issues. It's not like a weekly affair like with that of like a shonen manga, which is very sad, but I think it's worth it if it gives them time to like really cook up with the story and really like, you know, showcase what they're wanting to do with this character and this like newer characterization with Wonder Woman. There's a few later story beats later on, but that's just the kind of overall introductory that I've seen is, you know, her battle, her origin of her growing up in hell, seeing her earlier days with Cersei, seeing her fight this massive Lovecraftian creature while all still being the same Diana that I know and love, but still so many ways fundamentally different that just make her a very unique take on Wonder Woman that we've seen thus far. All of this just culminates in just a very fascinating read for me, and that paired with all of what else the Absolute Universe is offering and further offering, because like there's an Absolute Batman, there's an Absolute Superman, there's going to be an Absolute Flash, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter. It's just all of it thus far has just been just a very interesting read, and I might just do maybe like, I don't know, like a ranking of the series as more comes out. Who knows? I don't know how long I'll stick around. I'm probably just gonna like pop in here and there and catch up when I can, given how long it takes for the series to really like build up over time, because like I said, it's more monthly releases rather than weekly. But you know, I'm also like a fan of Hunter x Hunter, so I'm used to a really long time before in between like chapters and whatnot, so I can wait if peak is on the horizon. But yeah, I think I will be just wrapping that up here. I just wanted to ramble on about this because, you know, I haven't uploaded a video in a while, and I thought that instead of the typical gaming upload, I'd try something a little different. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I hope I got across that how great the series is and how fun of a read it has been for me. And yeah, thank you for watching. Comment below if you would check out Absolute Wonder Woman, or if you wouldn't check out, and why would that be? You know, does it sound interesting? Does it not sound interesting? Are you more used to typical Wonder Woman? Maybe this isn't your cup of tea. Who knows? Yeah. See ya.